Hello everyone, welcome again to my sessions called Sincerely ULOMA. And today I'll be talking about something that everybody who is over a size 14 will be able to relate to. Before I do that, let me start with a proverb as usual. Atụọlu nkikara akwa, ndị ọgọdọ ha kara aka elegharịwa anya. I'll say that again. Atụọlu nkikara akwa, ndị ọgọdọ ha kara aka elegharịwa anya. Now what that means is that when a proverb is said about torn clothes, those whose clothes are torn and tattered begin to look around like, are you talking about me? Are you talking about me? Now, how do we apply this proverb? When an uncomfortable truth is mentioned, the guilty or affected person immediately feels exposed. Embarrassment really comes from recognizing yourself in what has been said. Another proverb that really brings that to mind is one that was in Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe, where he talked about the fact that old women get uncomfortable when old bones are mentioned. Same thing. It's really about feeling like you're being spoken about when something that you're uncomfortable with is mentioned. So why am I using these today? I'm using these because I'm going to be exposing what happens really in the head and mind and heart of a fat person. And so everybody who's fat or thinks that they are fat will probably feel a bit exposed. Like, why is she telling them all that? So that's why I'm doing this. I'm doing this so that I can, unburden, educate, and perhaps embarrass a few people. All right, so here we go. I pondered really about what to label this particular episode. So I'll just call it The Truth About Fat. Right? And I'm hoping that everybody who's listening will learn a thing or two and maybe be a bit more sympathetic to those that are plus-sized. I love all these terminologies. Okay, so I was researching for this podcast. Not that I needed to do a lot of research, because really it's really about just looking in the mirror, innit? But yes, I was doing a bit of research just to remember the things I've said in the past and the things that I've felt in the past. And I was actually, flabbergasted, like they say, when I found out that I actually started a blog about my weight loss journey. Get ready for this. In 2010. 2010. I must have been maybe a size 14 or 16 at the time, and I felt that I was really overweight. Look at me now. I'd give anything to be a size 14 and 16 right now. And then I actually thought that it was not a sightly sight. But that's the thing, really. You wake up one day and you just realize that you're not the size you were yesterday. And you're wondering how that happened. I mean, I remember when I was going crazy, trying to get trim and, to lose some weight to be able to make sure that I looked the part on my wedding day and so on. Call it the wedding diet or the prom diet, like my children would say. There's always that very important thing in your life that you want to look a certain way for. And the one that comes to mind really is my wedding day. And I remember how I used to do, oh my goodness, I was doing my Jane Fonda exercises at the time. I was talking about 1994. Yeah. So I was doing my Jane Fonda exercises, trying to make sure I got down to a certain, size 10, size 8 type figure so that my wedding dress would look fantastic and things like that. And the reason I'm calling all that to mind was because it shocked me to imagine that I actually thought myself fat, because I was looking at some pictures from my traditional wedding, from my white wedding, and to all intents and purposes, I was gaunt. I looked like somebody from, one of those countries that are going through famine and things like that. And yet I thought I was fat. Okay. And it just goes to say that it's really never right, is it? There's always something you want to lose, something, you want your tummy a bit flatter, or you want your hips a bit, slimmer, or you want, your neck to show, your clavicle to show. I mean, there's always something that we want more of or less of, isn't it? And that got me thinking, because I now remembered a conversation I had with a friend of mine at a certain time. We were both working together and we both had weight issues or weight management issues. She went on to do, what do they call it? I don't know, that one where the sleeve, I think that's called the sleeve, but I'll talk about all that later. But we were both battling with the bulge, right? And so we used to have those conversations. And I remember what she used to say to me. She used to say that what she has seen is that nobody is ever really satisfied, with where they're at. And what happens is that you're not satisfied with where you're at, but you try all those things that you try, and then you fall off, and then you go back, and add a bit more and get a bit more upset, and then the cycle just continues. And that was us, not even very big at the time, but still having such conversations and such worries, anxieties, insecurities even, so that's what got me really considering doing this podcast, because there are a lot of people that have similar conversations about being overweight, about struggling with being overweight, about failing at some of the weight loss journeys and opportunities and trials and tests and so on, and just getting more miserable, as they tend not to work and things like that, and yeah, but they still have to go on. So I remember when I used to fight every one such conversation, I would just, respond with something like, yeah, so I added some weight, but my tummy is still flat, haha, and all that. Or I'd tell them, I'm not really fat, it's just the hips, we have these dual hips, we're just, kind of big on the hips, and that's really what it is. I'm not really fat and all that. If you look at the rest of my body, in proportion, just always trying to make some kind of excuse to defend one thing or the other, and just to get yourself out of the place that people are always very eager to put you into, basically. So that was really one of the major problems I used to have. And it wasn't really a problem, though. I mean, somebody needed to get by somehow, because I don't know about you guys, but there's something that is very unfair about being overweight. It's the thing that happens with other people. They tend to think that they have the moral and, I don't know, civic right and duty to tell you how fat you are. ULOMA, what happened to you? Oh my God! Or, hey, ULOMA, Ezifeme, Imani dika bani darego those days. That means whatever happened to you used to be as beautiful and whatever and slim, I guess, as Abani Darego. Abani is what, Miss World? And all that. And no matter who it is, whether it's an auntie or an uncle or a friend that you haven't seen in a while, whoever, they just tend to want to stop you and tell you that thing that maybe they think you don't know about yourself, because maybe they don't know you have a mirror. Maybe they don't know that you've been buying, clothes that are 6 sizes more than you used to buy and all that. And they think that they have the moral obligation to tell you that you have, added a lot of weight. And it's really very annoying. There was a particular day for me, for instance, when we were out at someone's house, a friend's house, different couples and all that. And one guy, for want of a better description, let me just say one of my husband's friends, actually, in public communication, just said something like, Uloma, you should do something about your weight. Ha, that Uloma of that day wasn't the Uloma of before. I picked him up, and I finished him, and I put him inside one cabinet somewhere. Because I just thought, who the hell do you think you are? And that's what people should really do, because that put him in his place, and he was quiet for the rest of the night. Not even the rest of the night, for the little bit that he was still there, because he left early. Because you give me a public reprimand, I give you a public reprimand, and then let's see who's stronger. It was just very unfair of him, because what happened was, yes, I got back at him, but he made me uncomfortable for the rest of that night. And that's what people don't think about when they say these things that they say to people who are big, because they really already know that they are big, and they don't need you to remind them. They don't need you to call to mind all their failures, because trust me, they are trying something. Every one fat person you see is trying something not to be fat. Almost, I can say 99% of the fat people that you see. So when you come with those comments, whether you are saying it in care or in, they just come across as unhelpful. That's what I found myself fighting. And so I would then defend, I would then, reprimand, I would then cut you short. And then shortly after all those my attempts, the whole concept of body shaming came up. And now, I don't know, I don't like labeling, but I could understand why. Like there needed to be some kind of protection, really, for the onslaught that people who are big get from people who, think that they're just being irresponsible, uncontrollable, and all those other things that, all those stigmas, if you want, that are placed on people being fat. So that was a nice thing, the whole fat shaming, body shaming, and the need for people to be a bit more sensitive to the fact that it's not a nice thing to do. So I would then start telling people things like, come on, I've had a baby, I just had a baby, or I've had 2 babies, I've had 3 babies, whatever, and so when they start talking about things like that, I would remind them that there is also the fact of pregnancy. Now I need to talk a bit about pregnancy, because pregnancy was really my undoing. Pregnancy, in my first pregnancy, and this is quite embarrassing, but in my first pregnancy, I added 25 kilos. 25 kilos. Who does that? Who does that? And it took, I'll tell you something. Every woman who is here, who has had a baby, may be able to relate to what I'm about to say. Some people have the, nausea and all that in the first trimester, maybe sometimes further, and so on. I never really had those nausea things, but that's not even the story. The story I want to tell is about the 8th month of pregnancy. 8th month. Now, I've had 3 children, and it was consistent for all 3 pregnancies. 8th month of pregnancy. The hunger is not in the stomach only. It's inside the head. Do you understand? It's not just your tummy. It's there's one hunger that is in your head. It's like shaking you. Like, where is the food? Where is the food? Where is the food? Where is the food? Nothing quenches that hunger until you've eaten. And it's not just until you've eaten well. I think it's the baby. I don't know. I never researched it. But I suspect that because the baby is growing a lot bigger at this point or something like that, they probably just are drawing more from you or something. I don't know. I don't know anything about science in that way. But all I know, that 8th month, that was where I added most of the 25 kg for that first child. And I need to tell you a bit about what my diet used to look like. At least let me even just describe the breakfast. Every morning, every blessed morning, my girl at the time, was it Uwim? I can't remember her name. She would fry yam, make egg stew, give me chicken on top, plus a tall glass of cold Bonvita with ice cubes in it. Every day. Just picture that. Fried yam, fried egg stew, fried chicken, Bonvita cocoa drink, hot chocolate drink. No, it wasn't hot, it was cold. Very cold chocolate drink with ice every day. And until I have it, my day hasn't started. Because, like I said, that madness, of the 8th month is happening. So that happens. It doesn't happen to everybody, maybe, but it happened to me. And I found that it happened to quite a few of my friends also. That 8th month pregnancy. So why am I bringing it up? Because that's one of the reasons. I'm not saying that it's an excuse, but it's a reason why most of those kilos were piled on at the time. Reckless. But yeah, that was me. And so at the end of it all, I now started thinking, how do I get all this off? By the time I'd had my 3rd child, knowing that I wasn't going to have any other child after that, at least I didn't plan to, and I started thinking how to get the weight off. What didn't I do? To be so nice to hear other people's stories, but hey, I went to 2 professionals I want to talk about, right? The first one I'll talk about is Quincy. There was this lady. She had I'd like to call her a herbalist. She had this place that she called, she just called it Quincy Health or something like that, or Quincy Weight Loss. Now, what does she do? You need to listen to this very carefully about some of the things that fat people go through. You had to be at Quincy's place once every week. And when you got there, she would ask that you get ready for a massage. She used to call it a massage, but guys, I'll come back to that. And then she'll give you the herbs for the week. Usually, she would also give you what she calls the Wednesday water. And then you go through the massage, and then you go. I'll take all of them one by one. Now, the herbs were like any other abo, herbs that you find in any part of Africa. Tied up roots and tied up sticks and dried up leaves and things like that you're supposed to like put in water and then drink as tea and so on. And Wednesday water was given to you once a week. I need to talk about Wednesday water. Wednesday water, first of all, wasn't clear as water. Rather, it was brown like dirt, right? It had a nasty smell. Nasty. Like, just picture rotten beans smell. When you drink Wednesday water, which is usually a glass full, like a teacup of this gross thing. So it's smelling, it's brown and dirty. And then when you start to drink it, I kid you not, you feel this heat from your mouth that just goes all over your body. Heat, hot heat, sensation down entire body. Then give or take an hour, you start having the runs. Sometimes less than an hour, but definitely more times than once. You'd like be in the loo for like the rest of the day, like half a day of in and out of loo, trying to get more and more things out of me. She believed that it was important to like make sure that you kept removing stuff from your tummy and all that. So that was what Wednesday water would do drastically. And then the herbs would do the same thing in a more gradual manner over the week. But she would give you like 7 days and all that. And then she would also give you your diet for the week, which would usually be something like a piece of fish, maybe in pepper soup, or 2 carrots or something like that. And you're supposed to do that for the entire week. Oh, I forgot something. And we also had the grapefruit juice. She'd give you like 4 bottles of freshly squeezed grapefruit juice that you're supposed to drink over the week and things like that. Then the massage. The massage was actually termed a fat breaking massage. Hey, Quincy's girls would pound your body. They would pound your body, like from neck down. They pinch your body, pinch your skin from shoulder down to, ankle. A pinch, which is supposed to be the breaking of the fat. And then they would knead the body. Then they would use a rolling pin on the body. And the essence of all that was so that they could break the fat. So combine all this, you're supposed to like do all that and lose some weight. I did lose. Oh, I lost too. I lost like, I don't know, maybe 30 kilos. Oh yes. You can't not lose on a program like that. But it's also a very unsustainable program. So I remember that somebody, I think it was my husband, who said that I needed to add a little bit of weight back, just a little, and all that. And in my bid to now add a little back, I added a lot more than I should have. But that was one program that I did. There was also Carol of blessed memory. So we used to go to Carol's, and Carol would just basically give you a diet and hope that you would stay to it. And every time you stuck to your diet that she gave you, you tended to like lose some weight. And she had a bit more balance to what she was doing, and she would also encourage you to do some exercise. That's how that whole thing about accountability, just having somebody that you were accountable to. So you'd visit her weekly, and she would weigh and talk to you. A bit of counseling, encouragement. She was great. She was really great. But some people tend not to stay long enough with anything, and that was me. So I lost some weight there also, and then I gained it all back. And there's so many other programs. I'm sure you've heard about the lemon cleanse. Oh, the lemon cleanse was a good friend of mine. So I would, do that whole for 9 days, 10 days sometimes. I would do nothing else but drink that solution, which was some honey or maple syrup. It was mostly maple syrup. Some lemon juice, freshly squeezed lemon, and then some cayenne pepper, and then lots of water. So you had like tons of it that you're supposed to drink through the day and every day for as long, and nothing else. You don't eat anything else. I think you could have water, but that was it. And the beginning of the lemon cleanse was what they used to call the salt solution flush, which would usually be something like Epsom salt, that you would mix with water and drink, and then your insides would totally go out, and then you'd continue with the lemon solution. So yeah, I did that. Oh, there was also the Clean 9. Clean 9 is from the Forever Living products thing. That never really worked for me, but yeah, some people said it worked for them. Again, it's a 9-day therapy, mostly about not eating, and then they had all those their supplements that you're supposed to take alongside it. But what's really interesting is that when I went back to my blog, which was called Just Fabulously Fabulous, I was amazed at the fact that I've been doing this since 2010. 2010! Come on! I didn't need it in 2010, you know? And there was something else that I found in my blog that I was really amused at. It was a friend of ours who told me that the reason I was still not keen on being slim was because somehow I still had a face that works. Because that's still fine, because this face, you can't really change things. Yeah, basically, she felt that because I had that, I was kind of resting on that, and she said that the other thing that she had a problem with me about was that I wasn't vain enough. That if I was vain enough, then I would really, really want to be back to, the size 12s and all that. I thank God I'm not that vain. But yeah, I did understand what she was talking about, because at the end of the day, you really do need to want to look a certain way, to have to look a certain way, to not be able to relax until you look a certain way, to be able to actually keep the momentum going and to keep the weight off, So I get it, Did I try the newer things? Oh yes, your girl tried Ozempic. Oh, it wasn't for me. That's all I can say. It just was like nothing was happening, And then when I now read about the stuff about the stomach hardening and all those other funny, funny things I couldn't understand, I just said, you know what? Let me just stay the way I am. I beg, So it's a journey, and it's a real issue. It's a real problem. It's a real struggle, because one of the sad realities is that everybody notices. It's one of those problems that you have, and everybody notices that you have that problem. You can't hide it, so you just walk into a place, and your problem is walking into the place ahead of you even, and people begin to make their judgments immediately. When I teach about communications, for instance, I always make it clear that body language takes up over 50% of the impact of that communication. So just walking into a place, people judge you based on what they have just seen about you. And it's a thing, so yes, it doesn't mean therefore that it stays that way, because you now have the task, unfortunately, of changing their minds about it. When you have a career that puts you in front of people, like I teach, for instance, I'm a trainer, I'm a facilitator, and sometimes I give, speeches in places and all that. So once I come in, I know that the first thing that everybody is seeing is a fat woman, a fat black woman. So I always have to do that task of changing their minds by trying a little harder than I needed to try, to convince them that I have a right to be on stage. I always succeed, but I could do without the work. I mean, if I just stepped in size 14, smart trouser suit, and I just started doing my thing, it would be so much easier. But when I step in size 20, 20 something, whatever it is I am, and I know that everybody has just gone, so man, how was she even able to get herself on stage? And all those other things that people think, then I know that I have to try harder. And the trying harder always works, because nobody leaves there thinking this fat woman. They go away thinking, oh my goodness, she's such a great speaker. but I had to work hard to get there, you know? So it stops me sometimes because I think, how many opportunities have I missed because of my weight? How many times have people thought would have used ULOMA or bots? How many times have there been silent dismissals that I may even never know about just because people have come to those conclusions without an opportunity for me to change their minds? So the more I think about things like that, then I actually stop and tell myself, maybe it's important, because you can't really always be there to defend or to change minds or to change impressions, and you don't know what circles where people are talking, and you don't know what they're saying, and you can just help it by not giving them negatives to talk about you when you're not there, especially. You get what I mean? So yes, that's for me one of the major takeouts that maybe keep me awake at night, but not awake enough, I guess, because nothing seems to be happening about it. You know, it's one of those situations where sometimes you just want to like stop and say, hey guys, can I just have a life here? And I remember part of my book, there was a story I told in my book where I mentioned a friend of mine who got pregnant when we were in school. Pregnant, and we didn't even know she was pregnant until the day she her waters broke and she was about to have the baby. Don't ask me how we didn't know. How was I supposed to know? I was what, 18 years old, and she was a big, set person, and so she used to just wear this jacket. And we just thought, she likes to wear a jacket. We didn't know she was hiding anything. But anyway, that's not the story. The story is that when she now had the baby, and we were now like, oh girl, how far? How come you didn't tell us you were pregnant? She said something that I will never forget. She said, I just thought if I didn't think about it, it would just go away. That's the way I feel about fat. I just wish that I could just sleep and wake up and it would just go away. So yeah, sorry, I'm silly like that. I'm even sillier than that, because I was thinking the other day that one beautiful thing God would have been able to have done for us was, instead of mosquitoes sucking blood, they should have just been sucking fat. Check them now. I mean, if the mosquitoes sucked the fat, to do all the work for us now. Anyway, so yeah, it's really something that a lot of us really worry about. In our, as soon as you wake up, you're thinking, who's this person in the mirror? Because in your mind, you had been a different other person for a long time, and then you find that you're not, and you go through all the motions. Sometimes you're going through like I was going through my blog, like I said, and there were parts where I would say things like, yeah, I need to love me for me, no matter how I am, I need to love me for me and all that. It's a lie. It's a lie. Do you understand? Let me see double chill. It's a lie. You want to be able to, give the impression that it's okay, you can get by and all that, but it's actually not. It's not true. You want to be a certain way, you want to look a certain way, and it's not just even for the aesthetics. It's also for the health. You want to be able to move around, freely, and you want to be able to jump around, you want to be able to dance longer, you want to be able to walk longer, swim longer, just do whatever you wanted to do that's physical for a longer time. But you can't when you're carrying all that bulk, and so it's actually a problem beyond the leaks. So that's really where I'm at now. I'm at that point where I'm thinking, you know what, apart from the fact of the bulk that one is carrying, there is also the fact of the age. The older you are, the more you're slowing down, because you can't do the things that you used to do. And then on top of that, you are carrying the bulk, so it's a bit too much, not just for your heart, for your body, for the aesthetics, for your people, for your children, for your husband, for your wife, for your clients, for everybody. Everybody wants you to be, in good shape and all that. And maybe that's what's important. So, yeah, so those are types of things that we go through. And you just keep wishing you didn't have to. Just keep wishing you didn't have to. It would have been so nice to be able to end this podcast with something like, but I'm going to start again and I'm going to try again. And I want you guys to keep me accountable. And I'm sure that, in the next couple of months or in a year or so, I'll be a different person. Nah, not going to be doing that. I'm just going to take every day as it comes, one day at a time. And I pray that somewhere I will find the resolve, not just to start, but to sustain something that works for me. Thank you guys. It was really nice doing this. Thanks for listening if you did.